everybody. Welcome to ABA Inside Track, the podcast that's like reading in your car, but safer. I'm your host, Robert Perry Cruz, and with me, as always, are my fabulous co-hosts.
It's me, Diana. Hello.
Welcome to 2025. It's me, Jackie.
So a lot of pauses there. I have to say, I was actually paused about announcements of my fabulous co-hosts because I was already playing out. One of you is going to go first because it's 2025 and we're going to do the bit. So I got stuck myself. So apologies, listeners. But this isn't a podcast about unfilled pauses that just kind of drag on for long periods of time. We already did that episode. We did that episode. It's a podcast about behavior analysis and behavior analytic research, where every week we pick a topic and discuss at length, unless it's this week. Either the end of the month, if you are one of our Patreon subscribers, or the beginning of the month, if you're listening on our main feed. But we talk about what's to come in the upcoming month on the show, as well as anything else going on that is relevant to us and the podcast. So this is our January 2025 preview episode. Wow, 2025. Who'd have thunk it?
Do you want to hear something hilarious?
Yeah.
This week I've been doing a lot of work, but I have been thinking about my courses for 2025. And so I've been updating the syllabi and writing 2025 and being very mindful about writing 2025 on them so I don't have to fix them later. And then I went to do all of these other paperworks that are relevant right now, like 2024. And I wrote 2025 on all of them.
Oh, no.
It's the reverse problem.
A year ahead. So everyone's like, did you know you wrote 2025? I'm like, I'm just getting it. I'm just getting in the game. I'm just getting
ahead.
Yep. Got to be practicing. Well, we hope everyone's had a nice holiday season and enjoyed the new year. We're recording this before the new year because this episode is coming out either on Christmas Day or it's coming out on New Year's Day, depending on how you're listening to it. So, surprise, we didn't record on either of those holidays. We tried to get a little ahead and take some time off. So we're recording a little before the holiday break. So we don't know how it went. Maybe our presents were all terrible and our New Year's resolutions were disastrous. We just don't know yet.
Rob?
What?
The holidays are not about presents. They're about presents. Right? So
okay, so
presents are terrible. As long as you're with people you love, it doesn't matter.
Well, maybe one of those people came and they got really drunk and started going on a rant about the current political climate or something fun. Who knows? We hope that didn't happen.
And also,
today's a gift.
Yeah. And I'm hoping your New Year's resolutions didn't stink on January 1st because that's the day you make them. So let's hope.
I gave up podcasting for the new year. Oh, crap. I'm already here.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen to you.
No, I know. There's at least one or two listeners that probably wouldn't care, but I like doing it. So I hope that won't come true. Anywho, what do we got coming up the rest of January? So we made our resolutions, which are to be determined. And then you have what's yours again, Jay? I feel like you already did this in the December preview. You talked about your resolutions.
I always have my resolutions. I love using December as a time to reflect on my year, how I did on my old resolutions, because I usually make them all, but this year I did not for extraneous factors that were beyond my control.
'Tis a poor craftsman blames their tools, Jackie.
I have two I did not. So one of them, if you remember last January, one of my resolutions was to do a handstand unassisted. And
I thought you did that.
Well, I can do it assisted, but the problem is I don't actually have a wall in my house that I can practice on. So I had to go outside and practice on the garage. And so it's a little harder now that it's cold. And and so that one, yes, it's cold and icy, so I can go for a few seconds, but that wasn't ultimately the goal, right? I wanted to be powerful in the handstand, so I'm just moving it over to the following year. And the other one, if you remember, was doing Canine Good Citizen with my new dog Dash. And I signed him up for multiple Canine Good Citizens, but then they all got rescheduled or canceled. So that one is also moving into the next year.
Oh, that one's not your fault. I blame them.
Me too.
Their resolution to have classes failed.
Is he ready? No, 100% no, but I'm going to blame them. It's not me.
There's no way to know. They canceled the class.
Right.
All right. Diana, we don't do a lot of resolutions here. I'm not a big fan of resolutions. I prefer to just sort of decide something sounds like a good idea, and then I'm better at reminding myself of, you know what, if you want to do that, that's important. And if you don't feel like it today, that's okay too. And that tends to work better than like, I have to meet my resolution, in which case I just feel like a failure the first time I mess it up. And then I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I quit, which is bad habit. So I've changed that habit, but I didn't make it a resolution. I just did it for fun.
Good job.
I think the term resolution like sets you up for failure, right? So, but I do think it is nice to make goals for yourself. So last year, as many may recall, my goal was to make a temperature blanket over the course of the year. And I, at the date of recording, am almost done. It's not finished yet. It's kind of natural to, lag behind a few days, but I will get it done. I anticipate it will be done during the month of January, and I will make sure to let everybody know about that. I have learned a lot about myself through the process. One thing I have learned is that it is a nice mindful activity because you have to do it every day or every so often. You have to keep track every day of what the temperature was. And it's like a good kind of grounding activity. The other thing I learned is that it was too big of a project for me and that I got really bored with it because it's just the same thing over and over again about halfway through the year. But I am seeing it out, but I am more excited this year to like start doing different projects. And I did learn more about crochet, so I feel more confident in my crocheting ability since then. In the upcoming year, my goal is to drink more water.
That's always good. Water's always good. All right. So we resolved that we'll have some podcasts coming up next week. What will they be, though?
We have a bunch in this month. So
it's a long month.
Yeah, January has like a lot happening. I think it's a four Wednesday month, right?
Too many Wednesdays.
No, I mean, sorry, it's a 5 Wednesday month because this is released on January 1st, which is a Wednesday. And then there's 4 more after that. Additionally, it is our quarterly release of last year's previously vaulted Patreon book club. So
that's in February. Huh? We have the new book club.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, my bad. Okay.
There's a book club, regardless.
Okay, there is a book club coming out, and that is only for the patrons because it's the new one that we just recorded.
Yes, but we have a special treat if you're listening only on the free feed. Okay, well, so it'll be coming out early in the month. I think we had an exact date, but we still got the final edits to go into it. But we did a book club on The Science of Consequences by Dr. Susan Schneider. And so every quarter we do a book club, and sometimes usually it's a book club with the 3 of us and our book club guy, Alan Haberman, and we discuss the book at length, and it's about 2 hours. And if you're subscribed on our Patreon feed at the $10 or up level, you can listen to that immediately upon release. You get 2 free CEs for listening to it. And we usually have a preview to go on the main feed that's sort of, like the first 30 or so minutes. But we have a special treat because we were able to work it out. We have had the chance to talk to some of the authors of some of the books we've done before, but usually it's, like a couple months after we've done the book club, so we can't put them together. But we thought ahead, I emailed ahead, and I was able to have just an awesome conversation with Dr. Schneider, and we were able to put it together at the same time. So all the ducks were in a row. So everyone is going to get to hear that discussion with Dr. Schneider as part of the preview. But if you want to get CEs for listening, you're going to have to either wait a whole year till we release it in February 2026, I guess, or you'll have to subscribe on the Patreon. Again, that's not to force your hand or anything like that. But again, we want to give you some of it. But again, that is just one of the perks of joining there, because the book club's kind of an extra to go along with everything. And I haven't seen the final count because we do have to do some editing. And usually all of our recordings have lots of, goof 'em ups and jokery that, doesn't make it into the final episode. But I think it's going to be
hopefully that won't.
I mean, they're all serious and boring. We have fun, but there's fun. And then there's this tangent has gone on for 5 or 10 minutes and we need to bring it back. So some of that's not going to make it in the final cut, but I believe it's going to be a 2.5 CE. So if you were thinking I do like ABA Inside Track, I do kind of like the book clubs, but I have an okay way. It's all right. This might be the month that you go to patreon.com/ABA Inside Track and join up, because that's going to be a mega episode. Again,
can you say that in a New Zealand accent?
A mega episode.
Thank you.
And if you want to wait, you just want to hear the preview, just hear Dr. Schneider talk about the book and then read it yourself. And then a year from now, listen to what we thought about it. Totally fine. We don't mind. We love that we can share this information. We just love being able to do the show. However, if you were thinking about it, this might be the month to do it. That'll also give you all the rest of the book clubs coming out. We have two more coming out this year. And then we have, certainly the listener choice episodes as well coming out every quarter. So there's a lot of reasons to join, but that would be like a real one to hopefully get your foot in the door and try it out. But that will be coming out at the beginning of the month-ish. Again, I don't have the exact date, but we usually drop those on like either Friday or Monday, either the first or second week of the month. What else do we have, Diane, in our regular episode buckets?
That's the plan, Stan. In addition to that, there's 4 more episodes.
Oh my goodness!
I know it's a heavy month. We took some nice time off in December so that we were ready for this. So first up is an episode I know people have been waiting with bated breath to hear about, which is the episode where we 3 discuss the matching law. I'm going to call them all in friend style. Mm-hmm. The episode where we talk about the matching law. This is a topic that is kind of scary for people, including us. But
we were brave.
We were brave. We reviewed the research, and now you all get to hear about it. So there are 3 articles that we will talk about in that episode, and they include The Matching Law, a tutorial for practitioners. That was by Reed and Kaplan and published in Behavior Analysis in Practice 2011. Also, The Matching Law provides a quantitative description of social time allocation in children with autism by Morris and Vollmer, published in JABA 2022. And finally, Generality of the Matching Law as a Descriptor of Shot Selection in Basketball by Alfrink, Critchfield, Hitt, and Higgins, and that was in JABA 2009.
One of those articles broke me a little bit, but which one? Well, you'll have to listen to find out.
Not because it's not a good article, as will be discussed in the episode.
I had a rant. If you were like, Rob doesn't rant as much as he used to. Oh, well, hold on to episode 297.
Okay. After that, we have a grab bag episode. We try to do those quarterly as well. But in those, an article is randomly chosen/given.
That's the bit.
To each of us, and we talk about it, but the articles are not necessarily thematically related to one another. So we have 3 that we'll talk about in that episode, and they include effects of a technology-based self-management intervention on social media use in a college student by Megan Ganadu-Hoare and Campos, and that was in Behavior Analysis and Practice 2024. Also, All for One and One for All, The Good Inclusion Game by Graham, Keenan, and Dillenberger. That was in Behavioral Interventions 2024. And finally, Using a Brief Experimental Analysis for Writing Speed Intervention Identification by Schmidt, Krantz, King, Vetter, and Maruska, and that was in Behavioral Interventions 2024. After that, we have another full episode for you all. We're going to talk about collaborative problem solving, or the CPS model, as you may have heard of it. And there are several articles we're going to talk about here, as well as some resources. This is a really interesting topic, and one that I think our listeners will be excited to hear about if they don't already know about this. So we are going to review the following: a transactional model of oppositional behavior underpinnings of the collaborative problem-solving approach. I feel like a colon would have been helpful there. But that's by Green, Ablon, and Goring, and published in the Journal of Psychosomatic Research 2003. It pairs well with effectiveness of collaborative problem-solving in effectively dysregulated children with oppositional defiant disorder, initial findings. That one was by Green, Ablon, Goring, Razor, Blakely, Markey, Monito, Hennon, Edwards, and Rabbit. And that was in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology 2004.
That's a gravy article, though.
Yeah.
It's like an extra.
Well, we'll talk about it when we get there. Next up, an open trial of collaborative problem solving in a naturalistic outpatient setting by Pilastri, Wang, Eddy, and Ablon. And that was in the Clinical Child Psychology and Psychiatry Journal 2023. So bringing it up to speed. And then finally, de-implementing a point and level system in youth residential care without increased safety risk, a case study by Stoll, Hartman, Paxton, Wang, Ablon, Perry, and Pilastri. And that was published in Residential Treatment for Children and Youth, 2023. And some other resources will be in there too. But
yes,
we'll
give you the website. I found those. I think they're a nice visual. So we'll have links. I mean, we'll have links to the website where a lot of this is being published, because a lot of it comes actually out of Mass General here in Massachusetts.
It's local. Okay. And then if you were counting, that was episodes 297. I didn't do it. The episode where we talk about the matching law, 298, the episode where we do a grab bag, and 299, the episode where we talk about collaborative problem solving, which brings us up, if you've been counting, to episode number 300. Oh my goodness. It's episode 300. Can you believe it?
We did. No, it felt like it took forever to get here.
It did a little bit feel like that. So
not like the podcast, but like it felt like we were so close to 300. We were like 281, and it was like, why? Well, it's got to be next week, right? That's how math works.
It takes a while, though, to get through the episodes. So for episode 300, if you were on social media, then you've seen that we've posted a few things about it, but we thought it would be fun to do a live recording. So we've invited folks, if you're in the area, to come see us in person. We were very generously hosted by the Regis College campus to come. We're going to do our live recording for episode number 300, which we're titling Funpocalypse there. If you're coming in person, it's on...
That's not the title of the episode.
Thursday, January 9th from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't, and you need to RSVP on the Eventbrite link that we have. But if you can't come in person, you will still get to be able to hear the episode later. Not at that time. It's not a live cast. It will be released at the very end of January as a regular episode as well. So the topic of that one is vaccines do not cause autism. And this is, I think, a really important topic, and one that I told everyone, I was like, I could just do this right now on my own.
So we immediately stopped preparing
about this topic, and it's one that I really want behavior analysts to be well versed in. So there are several articles that fit in with this discussion, and they are as follows. What every behavior analyst should know about the MMR causes autism hypothesis. That was by Ahern and published in Behavior Analysis in Practice 2010. Also, finding more constructive ways forward in the debate over vaccines with increased disability cultural competence by Alvik Harju and published in Medical Humanities 2023. How the Case Against the MMR Vaccine Was Fixed by Deere and published in the British Medical Journal.
They just want to be cited as the BMJ. I had a hard time finding the exact citation, because I thought it was British Medical Journal, but it's just the BMJ. That's what they want to be cited as.
Okay,
so.
2011. And finally, vaccines are not associated with autism, an evidence-based meta-analysis of case control and cohort studies by Taylor, Swerdfiger, and Eslick, and that was published in Vaccine.
See, follow the money, folks.
2014.
It's published in Vaccine. That's the name of the journal.
Stop it.
Of course.
Stop it. All right. Yeah. So that's the plan there. If you can, we're gonna have fun in person together. We'd love to see you.
Food,
we'll have some snacks there. We'll have some games, hopefully, and time to kind of hang out. And then we'll do the podcast recording as well. So please RSVP if you're interested. If you can't come in person, it will not be streamed live, but you can listen to it, and it's recorded podcast release later in January.
This will be a normal boring episode as far as you can tell, but it won't be boring. Just like none of our episodes are ever boring.
Backpedal.
I mean, I don't know. That sounded funnier in my head. And I said it out loud. I was like, why am I making fun of our podcast? The 300 of these things. We should be proud.
Yeah,
really.
We should be proud. We are proud. Thank you for being our listeners for 300 episodes as well, or however many you've been here. Maybe just this one. Who knows? But yeah, that's the plan.
All right. Well, let's move into the errata section of the show where we talk about other things kind of going on. And what better way to celebrate errata and then continue patting ourselves on the back for 300 episodes this month than by thinking back to some fun moments each of us sharing a fun moment from the past 300. So it doesn't need to be a time we made a mistake in the past 300 episodes, which is less fun, but just something we remember from the early days of doing this podcast for almost 9 years now. As if you listen to us and Matt Chikoya from Behavioral Observations on our year-end podcast the other week, we did sort of mention the age of all of our shows, but we thought let's take a trip back down memory lane. Does anyone want to start off with a memory from the shows?
Why don't you start off, Rob?
I will. I would love to start off. Thank you so much, Jackie. So one of the things that I remember, because one of the things you learn over 300 plus, and we've done more than 300 episodes, folks. We've done 300 plus 16 book clubs, plus the preview episodes. But one of the things I remember is the bonus episode. We got like 36 bonus episodes. So we've done a lot of episodes at this point. But in terms of main episodes on point on the format of the show, 300. I know one of the things I remember is when we first started, it was the idea of how many could we do in a month? Because the idea of doing something weekly was hard for our schedules. And the idea of what if we just do one a month seemed like death in terms of how many people are listening to podcasts. Because at the time, we did not know that everyone would be stuck at home listening and making their own podcasts for like a year and a half. We didn't see that coming. This was
We started in 2016.
Because we started 2016. And the idea of if you start a podcast and you do it once a month, then you're not going to be able to get an audience because it's too far. People will forget you exist. You need to be constantly churning out content. So we came up with the idea, well, we can do 2 a month, and in between we'll do a preview, just like we're doing now, except we weren't really sure what that meant. We'd sort of just like say the episodes and then talk for a few minutes, and they were like 5 or 10 minutes long. They weren't that long, which was great because I still edited the show back then. But one of the things that I do sort of miss, because we used to try to do videos of those. We're like, we'll do videos because I think you're supposed to do video, right? We were trying to learn this stuff as we went along. And we would do videos. And after a while, just videos of us sitting in front of our dining room, which went out to just like a slab of concrete in our backyard. We had this really great orange curtain for many, many years. That was our backdrop forever.
Stand by the curtain.
And ever. So we decided, we should probably do some extra things to make it more interesting, make these videos more interesting. And I know some folks are like, I don't like the bits. I want you to be very serious all the time. But you do 300 podcast episodes and you tell me you don't need to throw some bits in there to liven it up at times. And I distinctly remember one of my favorite bits we ever did was on, I believe it was empathy, our episode on empathy. And we had a puppet. We did a puppet bit. I think, Diana, you were the puppet. You were under the table and you were doing a puppet. And I was really proud of that one. That just felt like we really were thinking of some other ways to kind of add to the show. However, it took a long time to edit videos, and I don't think anyone else but us cared. So now we just sort of do the audio podcast video versions, which is not as exciting, but certainly doesn't take as much time. But there was that moment where we really had no idea what we were doing with our preview episodes, and anything worked. And I kind of miss those early days of let's just do crap and it's going to be fun and no one's listening, so who cares? There's something, I do like that people are listening more now, but still there's something fun about the idea that this show is all about what we want to do for ourselves, and let's do a funny puppet bit. So that's one of my favorite memories from the past 300.
One of mine was in our first 2 or 3 episodes. We talked about parent training, and I was not pregnant yet. And I was like, I'm never going to have kids. Kids are the worst. I can't believe that people have kids. You should just roll them around in dirt and stick eggs in their ears so they don't have allergies. And then just a few short episodes later, I was pregnant and that changed. But I like that is forever melded in the podcast, that I was like, I'm never having children.
It was a real runner for a long time.
Yeah, it was. So anyway, that was my
the old days of not having children.
One of my best memories is when we did the live trivia for the first time at the little brewery.
That was so
in
fun.
Hudson.
Ground effect.
Yeah.
It's no longer.
I don't think they survived the pandemic, unfortunately.
No.
The brewery, not the owner. Yeah, but they let us rent the space for free, and we invited people, and we had everyone, a lot of people came. We had teams. We had the little bowls with the pretzels and the goldfish. It's like they do it like other trivia nights, and Rob hosted, and you did a great job, and it was really fun. It was really fun. Again, like I feel like it adds to the nostalgia because it was like a pre-pandemic type of thing where like it was before we took for granted that we could even do those types of things. And I feel like only now, like honestly, like only now are you kind of getting back to that. Like, oh yeah, let's do a thing type of approach, right? Which is why we're just now again doing, I think, a live thing. It's been so long it's been at least 5 or 6 years ago that we did that, but it was, I think, a great memory.
Yeah. And I remember afterwards it was tough because like, booking places is never going to be that easy. And it never has been.
Nope.
And then one of the positives of everything shutting down was like, well, I guess I don't have to try to do that anymore because there's nowhere to go.
Right. But it felt special. It was really nice to like have that aspect of physical community, even if now I think we appreciate that a lot more than maybe we did at the time. But I will always hold on to that as a good memory.
Yeah. Activities like that. It reminds me, we did our episode on public speaking, our follow-up on public speaking. And I think it's Pat Fryman advice that it's never about getting rid of all your fear about speaking in public. It's about being able to speak in public, even though you are scared or anxious. And it is funny how different it is to do those live performances. 'Cause even when we do live like podcasts, things, and maybe at conferences, or we've done trivia since then, there's always that anxiety after having done 300 episodes where it's like we joke about it. Like we could sit down and be like, all right, let's all read these articles real fast. And then let's do an episode. Bam. We've just gotten so fast at it. We're so efficient at like, let's get the information, disseminate what we think is important, share our own professional opinions, and bam, that's an episode, right? It just feels like we can do it in our sleep after so many repetitions. But when you suddenly take that action and put it in front of people, it's such a different experience. And there's always that nerve, like people are watching me do this, as opposed to when we do it in our studio where it's, it's just us watching ourselves. Those are good memories. What good memories we have. Oh, well, that's enough back patting. Let's move into emails. Do we have any emails of other people having memories of podcasts they listened to and then wrote an email about?
Yeah, actually, we have one. It is an email from Amy Bookspan, and she wrote the article that we referenced in November on behavioral artistry. And we do actually have an errata because we referenced that article at one point as the Leaf article. And yes, while he was an author on it, she is the first author. So I just wanted to apologize profusely for that because I also would be slightly annoyed.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
Right?
I may have done that, and I'm sorry.
It's hard.
It feels like me. I kind of remember saying something like, it was the Leaf guy. He was, and everyone else, like I couldn't pull out the first author fast enough. And as much as I sometimes will tell guests, like, don't worry, we have an editor. So if you can't remember something, just ask us to wait. I never remember that own advice for myself of like, wait, I could have just stopped and looked it up. So I'm worried it was me. So I will also apologize.
I'll apologize. As a group, that sucks. And I'm sad that we did that. And we're apologizing here. But on a more positive note, she's currently doing a review right now, a follow-up study. It's in review for publication, in which they attempt to cover all of the questions that we had about wanting more in terms of social validity, idiosyncratic definitions and such. So I'm pretty excited to read that. And I told her that as soon as that's out, we would love to have her come on the show and talk about it. And I did want to give her, and to give her some self-promotion, she just started a new podcast called Skinner's Locker Room. And the podcast explores human behavior as it relates to sports, performance, wellness, and health. And so they're interviewing athletes and researchers. So that sounds kind of fun to listen to.
Yeah, awesome.
In health and wellness. And so I think that would be so cool to do. So that was something that I wanted to bring up. So thanks, Amy, for writing in. And we can't wait for you to be on the show in the near future. And then we had another listener, Lainey, who wrote in and said that she really enjoys the podcast because it's easy for her to get CEUs on maternity leave. So cool. But shouldn't you not be on maternity leave, Lainey? I'm just kidding.
You got to maintain that certification.
You really do. And so, yeah. So those are our two listeners for for the month of January as you ride into 2025.
Beautiful. It's so we still love getting emails. You can always email us at abainsidetrack@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on any of the platforms we're on. And I think that's about gonna wrap us up.
I have one more note.
Please share one more note then.
Starting in 2025, the BACB would like for you to collect cultural CEUs as well. So
if only there was a place you could get cultural CEUs and they were labeled really clearly on the website. I wish.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say, is that we have cultural CEUs.
What?
They had previously been branded specifically IBAO cultural CEUs, but we have since updated that so that it reflects that they're also BACB cultural CEUs, as those are now something that folks need. And whenever you need them, they're going to be there. I'll just say it that way. So yeah, you should check it out. That if you go to the previous episodes page on our website, there is already a section there called cultural, and anyone's listed in there would be available for BACB cultural CEUs as well.
Excellent.
Awesome. I don't know.
Too. There's several in there, 10 or so. Yeah.
And then the last thing that I wanted to bring up, Rob, is that we're going to be trying out a new thing in the year 2025, either January or February, depending on how quickly I can get it out. But we're going to be implementing a newsletter, and we'll be sending it out to our listeners. It will have, topics about the preview, things that we find interesting for the month, maybe upcoming events, some fun memes, some people
I think I should just have like pet pictures and recipes.
Well, we could do that too, right? We could have like a pet corner and a recipe corner. I'm into it as long as it's
projects.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's something that we are considering. And so hopefully that will be out in 2025 sometime. So check your emails.
Awesome. And because I don't want to be left out, I also remembered something that we discussed and I forgot to mention. We didn't announce who won our listener choice poll for our winter episode.
Oh, yeah.
So we should do that. And now as we're wrapping up, and then we'll summarize it all. So we do a quarterly poll for listeners who are subscribed at patreon.com/ABAinsidetrack. And you can be subscribed at any level. There's even a free tier. If that's where you want to get your podcast and you want to be a part of that, you can vote right there. And we had a 3-way tie this time of the 3 topics. And so we had a discussion, and based on some factors that we actually talked about at length in our end of year, or our year in ABA 2024 bonus episode from last week with Matt Chicoria, we decided, since it was a tie, we just would do a tiebreaker, and we chose from the winning options, how to creating token economies and procedural integrity systems. So we have some articles that are sort of a nice kind of meta reviews or best practice reviews that we will just be going through and then adding our own 2 cents in as well. So that will be coming out in February, but just wanted to let everyone know that was the winning topic. So newsletter, winning topic on how to maybe that's a header we'll use in the future about token economies and procedural integrity systems.
Maybe tutorial.
We'll come up with a title. It'll be fun.
How about tutorial, like TOO?
Oh, dang.
Well, let's workshop it off the air. We don't want people stealing these great ideas. So we have that, and the newsletter.
Too legit to quit.
And then certainly our live episode. Our live recording coming out. And again, there's a link in the podcast description here, but it's at Eventbrite. You can look up ABA Inside Track, and we will be there. So that brings us to the end of our preview. We'll see you next week with all of our upcoming episodes and our book club and all that good stuff. But until then, keep responding. Bye.
Bye.